Hey everyone, welcome to a 2014 Audi A5 brought to you by First International Auto Group here in Merrimack, New Hampshire. So if you are new to the channel, welcome for the first time. If you are a returning viewer, welcome back. I'm Auto Joe, I do car reviews. This is a first gen Audi A5, which features a 2.0 liter 4-cylinder turbocharged, all-wheel drive, and an 8-speed automatic. So with that being said, let's check out the outside of the car. So this 2014 Audi A5 is finished in moonlight blue metallic with a brown interior. So we have 18-inch alloy rims here, 245s as far as tire width. These beautiful daytime running lights, which I really like. And some chrome detailing here, but not too much where it's kind of chrome overload, but just enough to give it some classy, elegant styling. So the trunk you can open right from this key just by holding it. Opens right up. As you can see, we have a decent amount of space. We also have 60/40 folding rear seats, so you get some extra room in there. But really what's going to hurt you is this clearance. I almost wish they did a hatchback on these. So watching me attempt to get in the rear seat might be a little fun for you all. Let's see if we can. So I can just barely sit behind myself. There's not a ton of headroom either back here, as this cloth headliner kind of rests just upon the top of my head. But as you can see here, we also have vents back here, which is somewhat nice, and speakers to the left and right of us. But overall, this back seat is not a great place to be. So this 2-liter turbocharged 4-cylinder makes 220 horsepower and 258 pound-feet of torque. And I would say at just about 3,700 pounds, this car really needs all the power it can get. We have a long wheelbase, and yes, we have kind of low center of gravity here. But overall, this car being this heavy is a little bit concerning so far. So I think a lot of that weight is attributed to the automatic 8-speed transmission, all the bells and whistles in here, such as this panoramic sunroof above me. We got heated seats for both me and my front passenger here, cruise control, navigation. So this specific example has just over 100,000 miles on it, and mostly I feel like it's aged like fine wine. It still rides quite nice. I would say that this interior is a bit louder than the A6 we drove a few weeks ago. So punching it, this car doesn't get up to speed very quickly. The 0 to 60 is quoted at just over 6 seconds, and I believe that. So we clearly have electronic steering here. It's not very direct as I'd like it to be, but it'll get the job done. So while we're stuck behind this Honda Pilot, let's talk about this interior. So overall, it's really nice in here. We have a great driver's position that really gives you a low center of gravity feel, kind of like almost like a cockpit. We have these gorgeous brown leather seats, which really mold to your body quite well, giving you an adequate amount of comfort while also providing you some side bolstering when you're doing some sporty driving. Using the front infotainment system, obviously it's going to feel old being in a 10-year-old car with only Bluetooth and no Apple CarPlay. It's actually quite nice as far as using this little scrolly wheel down here. It gives these nice little clicks, which I really like. Overall, the button finishes are really great in here. I think that overall it gives you a feeling of luxury and not anything that they really cheaped out on in this interior. So we have daytime running lights, and actually inside the vehicle settings here we can shut those off if we wanted to, but overall I think they look really nice, so I'm going to leave them on. We have a 10-speaker stereo system in here, Bang & Olufsen. Let me try to say that correctly. and actually a 150 watt amp in here as well. So as far as power bands, I feel like this 2-liter 4-cylinder, the turbo, really provides an adequate amount of power, around 3,000 to 4,000 RPMs, but before and after it's quite dull. It's almost like, you know, those turbos that turbo has to spool up and really provide you that power, but otherwise it's really lackluster. So although this coupe is quite heavy, we actually get decent fuel economy for being a 10-year-old car, rated at 20 city and about 29 highway. I wouldn't doubt if you could achieve maybe even a little over 30 if you're hypermiling it. So as far as some of the highlighted features in here, we have power mirrors, blind spot monitoring, we have dual climate control here, we have leather seats with memory for the driver. And although we have this panoramic sunroof, it actually doesn't open backwards, it only opens up, it only really tilts. So I really wouldn't call it a full panoramic sunroof, but it'll provide you a little air in the cabin. I also really enjoy how this interior looks. I feel like this little wood paneling and some of these aluminum buttons and the aluminum part of the dashboard looks really nice. I also enjoy the analog gauge cluster with the little bit of digital in the middle. I feel like it provides not too much of the digitized feature that we've kind of put ourselves in. It brings back to some of the older Audi cars that really offer plenty of simplicity and great driving. And so although we don't have the practicality of 4 doors or the practicality of a hatch, we do have all-wheel drive, so you can consider this a daily driver if you're really only driving around one other person. Let's let the Audi go over the worst road in Merrimack. So that suspension is actually quite stiff. I felt like it really didn't handle those bumps very well. It was kind of jarring, if you will. So I guess, you know, talking about the low center of gravity, that's really what happens is you don't have a lot of travel for that suspension and you end up having kind of a stiff ride. So we'll do our turn radius test here. Most cars pass, so because I don't really have the best test, but adequate turn radius, don't mind it at all. While we're stopped here, I'll put on my hazards and let's flip this thing into reverse. As you can see here, we have a decent backup camera. Doesn't have all that high resolution or any sort of other views, but it gets the job done. One gripe I have about this Audi A5 is that the brake pedal is quite soft and you really have to give it a lot of force. This car actually has new brakes, so I wouldn't accredit it to that. I just think the pedal overall has a soft feel, whereas the gas pedal is actually quite responsive. So it's kind of got this weird thing where I have to be careful on the brakes and I have to be very gentle on the gas pedal. So we also have plenty of visibility in this car. We have these side windows that are really big, along with these large doors, of course. And we also have little windows in the back that don't open, but they provide a nice view for your passengers. Out the rear, we also have a large window, and obviously the front windshield does its job. And we have these A-pillars that are pretty small, although they have speakers inside of them. So regarding the steering wheel, you have your standard talk button on here, your navigation, quick function, and your volume control. So, and on the left side you have modes which control your Bluetooth, your phone if you're on the phone, and you can kind of scroll those settings there. But as you can see, we don't have anything connected right now, so there's nothing to play around with. So although this car has navigation, it's 10 years old, so unless they're providing updates to date, I wouldn't rely on it. I would just plug in your phone and listen to the audio version of Waze, or maybe get one of those dashboard mounts if you plan on driving this car on a daily basis. So although I've said that the suspension is quite stiff and the car really doesn't handle bumps all that well, it's very planted around corners, and I feel like you could do some sporty driving and have a little bit of fun in this car. So I think regarding the power band, I think the best setting to do is just throw it into the selectable gears, and then you can really keep your car in the best part of its power range without, you know, having the car do some automatic upshifting by itself and throwing away your fun. I think most of the time I would keep this car in its automatic format for the transmission. I think it does a great job unless you're trying to do some sporty driving. It's really good at just kind of hiding the shifts and providing a luxury driving experience rather than a sporty one. So with that being said, I believe this Audi A5 is a great competitor to the BMW 4 Series at the time. This car is brought to me by First International Auto Group here in Merrimack, New Hampshire, so come check them out. That Audi A6 I drove was also from them, and I think they're both great cars. So with that being said, if you have any questions, please feel free to leave them in the comments. Please like, please subscribe, as it helps me source more cars and provide more content for you all. With that being said, thank you for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye-bye.